everyone, yet another angle to look at anxiety, depression, and negative moods because these are so closely related to chronic diseases. Both as a causal factor because negative feelings, anxiety, and depression cause low-grade inflammation and therefore can be a factor leading to chronic diseases, but also as a consequence because the conditions of chronic diseases, they alter our mood and alter our mental states, leading to anxiety and depression and negative feelings as a consequence. Now, there are a lot of people on this planet experiencing negative feelings and anxiety and depression, especially right now. But about 5% has severe conditions like major depressive disorder in the general population, about 5%. But under the population of people with chronic disease, this is doubled. It's 10%, over 10%. And especially for people with specific chronic diseases like hypertension, diabetes type 2, lupus, epilepsy, and certain types of cancer like breast cancer. This can go up to over 20% of the people experiencing these type of chronic diseases. That is major. And probably it's an underestimation because what research shows that it is a topic that is really under-discussed in the doctor's office. Maybe there is a lot of other things to talk about when you have chronic disease, but also there's a little bit of a stigma to it. And maybe you think it's just part of it. Now, how do you know if you experience chronic disease distress? So distress because of chronic disease. Now, actually, it doesn't matter because the symptoms are alike. And the thing is, and that is my case that I want to make in this video, we gotta do something about it because it is a never-ending loop if we don't. So how do you experience, what do you experience when you have episodes of anxiety, negative moods, and depression? Well, first of all, you have different feelings. You have episodes of sadness, irritability, a feeling of emptiness, and you have a loss of interest in the things that you used to find really fun to do, right? You enjoy doing, and now you lost appetite for it. Secondly, there are a lot of mental changes, like your feeling of self-worth and self-confidence goes down or is really lacking. Brain fog, memory loss, feelings of overwhelm, confusion. There are physical changes like loss of your appetite, trouble sleeping, your energy levels go down, your fatigue, even exhaustion. And there are social changes because the interactions in your day-to-day life, they become different, right? Your relationships with your spouse, your children, your parents, your family, your friends, in your work setting. These differences, difficulties in those settings, they also are an indication that there is depression and or anxiety at play. Now the question is, how do we have to look back to where they came from to solve them? Now sometimes that can be very helpful. There are a lot of reasons why we can experience anxiety or depression because of adverse events that happened in our life, even in childhood, that are coming back into our reality and our mental reality, or big events in our life that were really painful to us that come back in the moment, or medication because of your chronic disease, that there are certain medications that are really impacting your mood up to a level of depression and anxiety, especially, for instance, antibiotics. They disturb the microbiome, and when that is really disturbed, then we know that they can cause depressive symptoms and anxiety. But it can also be lifestyle factors, like drinking a lot of alcohol, smoking, eating pro-inflammatory foods, the lack of exercise, disturbed sleep, lack of sleep, changing your cycles because you do night shifts or what have you. So there are a lot in your psychosocial settings, like maybe there you have a relationship issue, your marriage is not going well, your relation with your partner, your children, or work-related problems. But actually, we got to do something about it. Whatever the reason is, the first thing what we need to do is become aware. There are so many things that can cause anxiety and depression because, after all, bottom line, it is a mental model that we have of our reality. Whether it is reality or an illusion, it doesn't matter. Whether it has been or it is now in your mind, in your memory, or you experience it right now, it is a mental model. And the thing is, to get out of it, we have to become aware. First and foremost, we have to become aware, not become aware about the causes, but become aware that this is active in ourselves right now. When we have a lack of joy, a lack of purpose, a lack of creativity, a zest for life, a lack of energy, we are exhausted, and we really, really are longing for some kind of relief, some kind of new energy coming to us. And that is a sign, and that is what we have to become aware of. That is not who we truly are, and that is first and foremost what we have to realize. Then secondly, seek help. 75% of the people who experience depression and anxiety do not get help. Maybe because they do not discuss it in the doctor's office, and doctors do not actively ask, and we do not actively tell. But also because people have a lack of resources, they're still to find help, or because they feel there is a stigma. They should not feel bad because there's so much to be grateful for. There's a certain kind of guilt, or maybe it's a cultural thing that you don't discuss these things. Or maybe there's just not availability of the right medical help for you. There are not a lot of doctors who can really help people get over mental issues like depression and sadness and anxiety. Actually, there is not a lot of research about people with chronic disease having severe depression and anxiety. Well, this is really a high prevalence, like over 20% of people with chronic disease. So probably this research is upcoming. I'm quite sure about it. But for the time being, there are really ways that you can get help. So first of all, become aware. Secondly, seek help, because there are treatments available that are very effective, like psychoeducation, like cognitive behavior therapy, like coping mechanisms, but also medication for that you can use temporarily to get out of a dire situation that you're experiencing at the moment. So that are the two main things that I want to bring to you, because it's so important. And when you have chronic disease, well, there's a big chance that you experience anxiety and depression as well. And it's keeping the loop alive. So the loop of chronic disease, the loop of mental and physical chronic conditions. Now, there's also a lot of self-work that you can do, inner work. And that is what you can start right now. And there are 4 things that you can start right now. And that is working to know who you really are. Now, that is often a very broad, woo-woo thing. Who I really am. I am who I am. Yeah. But who you really are is not the one who is depressive, who has angst, who is sad, who is hopeless for the future, insecure about the future. Is not the one who has a lack of confidence in themselves, who feel unworthy. Really, nobody who experiences those feelings, those emotions, are their true self. We are our true selves when we are happy, when we are in the flow, when we are in our energy, when we do the things we love, and we love the things we do. Then we are resembling the one who we really are. Then we are close to our true self. And that is an easy one, because we all know how we act, how we behave, how we think, how we feel when we are in our happy place. There's something you can think about where you are in your happy place, in a happy moment, on vacation, or with your loved ones, in a nice dinner, or whatever you're doing, a nice activity together that you think, this is really me. Or maybe you're a writer. When you are writing, when you're in the flow, or you're an artist, or whatever you do that makes you happy. Whatever you do that gives you satisfaction, a feeling of wholeness instead of emptiness. That is who you really are. So if you start resembling, mimicking this behavior, the behavior from your happy place, the feelings from your happy place, the thoughts of your happy place, if you start to mimic them, even in that moment you don't feel like it, you just do it, then ultimately, when you do that a lot, it becomes a habit. A habit to be yourself, instead of the habit of being the one that fits in certain rules, certain expectations. Now these are yours, your expectation, your rules, your behavior, because that is the behavior of your happy place. And if you do that a lot, it becomes a habit, and that is what you want. So that is one thing that you can do yourself outside of professional help. Secondly, is know where you want to go. Know your North Star, because that brings things in perspective. Not every day is a good day. Not every moment in the day is a good moment. We all have that. But when we realize that in those moments of contrast, when we feel the inner resistance, when we feel the discord, that we know where we are going, that brings that moment in a different perspective, because it's a step up moment, a moment that we can show up for ourselves, a moment that we can realize, here we are, but there is where I want to go. There is where I'm going. But now I'm here, and that's okay. So that's the next thing. Know where you want to go. The third one is just get a bit of relief. Nobody can quantum jump from a bad feeling to a wonderful feeling, from sadness to happiness, from feeling of lack to wholeness. Nobody can. But what we can do is just reach for a little bit of relief, because we can choose our thoughts. Because we can choose our thoughts, we can choose our feelings. And maybe we have to change our thoughts a bit, or we have to change our actions a bit. Both will work. But if we change that, we can feel a little better. Maybe you just have to step outside. Maybe you have to grab a cup of coffee. That sounds simple, but it brings you, if you intentionally do it, into another mind state. Just a tiny bit other mind state. And when you feel a bit of relief, it is a big step when you are in a state of sadness or depression or angst or any negative feeling. When you just reach for a better feeling, a little bit of a better feeling, just the feeling of relief will break the cycle. Because when we stay in that mood, in that condition, it will only go worse, because those feelings are enforcing the negative feelings, while a little bit better feeling is enforcing a little bit better feeling and a little bit better feeling. It is about tiny steps, baby steps. Just little steps of relief will absolutely help you to break the cycle. And the last thing, number 4, is make a list of what goes well. We tend to focus on the things that are really not going well when we are in a bad mood, right? Even when we are a little bit in a bad mood, but especially when it's deeper. We tend to see darkness in a lot of things, while there's a lot of light as well. So if we just take a blank sheet of paper and we just write down everything that goes well, especially the things that we have done well, if you can reach that, if you can go there, what I did well today, that will make such a difference. It will lift you up a little. It will give you that relief, and you can be thankful for everything that went well, and that will really help you. So these were the 4 things that I would give you to go out of that loop of mental and chronic diseases that is actually a down-going spiral, and we want to make it an up-going spiral, because then we can reverse chronic disease. And it's really important to do so, because anxiety and negative feelings and depression, these are free-flowing causes of chronic disease, free-flowing causes of progression of chronic disease. So to reverse chronic disease, we have to close the tap, and we have to do that with those tiny steps, little steps of feeling better, little steps of acknowledging what went well. It's also important because anxiety and depression, as you probably are fully aware of, are blurring our decisions and our actions. And when we have chronic disease, there are a lot of decisions to take about our treatment, about treatments, about food, about what we drink or not drink, about smoking or not smoking, about exercise, about how we interact with people. So it is important that we have clarity of mind when we make those decisions. They make a difference for us, for ourselves, and for the people that we love, for our environment. So remember this. If you believe that negative feelings and thoughts are just part of life, they will be. And if you believe that your negative feelings and thoughts are just temporarily in your life, then they also will be. What you believe will become your reality. And being aware of this, that we can choose to take any action, that we can choose to take no action, that makes all the difference in the world. So, having said that, I hope this was valuable to you. And if so, subscribe. If so, consider to do a longer form training while we really dive into the different causes of chronic disease and the causes that make sure that the chronic diseases are progressive. And we want to reverse chronic disease, and we can reverse progression of chronic disease, and we can repair all non-permanent damage. And if you're interested, consider to do a longer form training and check out the box below if you can get an invitation for that, probably on a Saturday. So see you next time.